Hi and welcome to another live demonstration of the Steel Detailer. My name is Michael Crawford, I'm your presenter. Today we're going to cover mark numbers. Before I get started, I just thought I'd mention that I've got everyone on mute here, primarily because you get a lot of background noise when people are talking or in the background while I'm demonstrating, and it can be a little off-putting. Also too is that I don't open this up for discussion. If you've got any questions, please send them at support@thesteeldetailer and we'll make sure that you get your answers. So basically, hey, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm just going to show you is that I've created a project to do some mark numbering in and just set things up. Now, the default system within the Steel Detailer is set up so that it grabs the file names of the models. However, you can create your own mark numbering system. So firstly, I'm just going to go through the stock standard mark numbers that TSD provides, and then I'll take you through the process of setting it up so that you can create your own mark numbering systems. Alright, so as I said, first thing I did was create a project, and I've called it mark number test, and off to the side, and I've created a WBS of mark number test. So I'm just going to log into that. If you are not familiar with creating projects, we have a series of webinars on the Steel Detailer on YouTube. Just look it up, one word, the Steel Detailer, and you'll find it in there. Also too, it's in the front startup menu, shows you how to create the project. Also, what I've done here is I've also inserted a frame, because we're going to insert some members in here so that the frame itself comes in, and we're going to do what we call a member lock. Alright, so with the frame, we're just going to put a couple of columns on it, and then I'm going to show you what actually happens. One thing before I do go with the frame is just to make this thing exclude from the bill of materials by right mouse clicking it, because frames you don't want to come up in the bill of materials. It's just a skeleton for us to attach our steelwork to. So I'm just going to TSD members, and I'm going to select columns. I pick a column that I'm going to put on. I'm going to put two columns in because we want both columns to show up so that we can show the process of how the numbers work. Okay, so I'm just putting two columns in. Now what I also want to do is, just so that you can also see the process, is just duplicate the column. So I'm just going to go to TSD members and duplicate. Now what duplicate means is it's going to create the same member twice. That means there's two instances of the same member, whereas if you were to use a copy member, it would copy that member and create a whole new mark number for that. So I'm just going to use duplicate, and I'm picking my lines to put my members on. Okay, so now I've got four columns in there. There are two CM001s and two CM002s. Okay, now this is called, if you're not familiar with TSD, this is called a welded member assembly. Okay, a welded member assembly has 12 digits, and there is a specific code associated to it. 5000 is the project number. AA is the WBS, which is the area to which it is associated to, and CM being a two-digit code that we use to find things in our libraries, find items in our libraries to do with members, areas and parts, and the next three digits are sequential numbers. So now if we actually drill down into that and have a look at the assembly by opening it up, you can see the column that I've got in front of me. There's a section in there. You'll notice that the section's got a code. The M is for member section, and that means that that particular section is going to be included in the bill of materials. It means that when we do a member lock, which I'll show you in a sec, it will automatically grab that item and save it out into a separate folder. Okay, and then we've got our connections, and you'll notice the consistency in the naming of the entire assembly and its components. It's got the beginning of the name of the column itself, and then it's got MO1, and then everything comes off that. Connections are labelled a little differently because they are a sub-assembly, and you'll see that the connection 02, CP01, CN02 means the connection in sequence that was used. That means there was possibly another connection before that, CN01, that was added and then removed, so it's gone into the next one and created the second one. And the CP is actually the connection type, and obviously the 01 being a sequential number as well. CP means cat plate. Base plate, you'll notice on CN03, base plate. And when we insert our connections inside our models, there's points that are created to which these items sit on. And you can actually grab the point and move the connection away because the connection is mated to that point. Okay, now if we drill down into the connections, we've got the same thing happening again. You'll notice that we've got the column name in the connection part. We've also got the connection name, and then we've got a D01. Now Ds are used as dummy components. It means they're not going to be included in the bill of materials, and they're also excluded. So if I was to highlight over that, you'll notice the excluded from BOM come up. That means that we're not going to include that in the bill of materials, and because it's got excluded from bill of materials, we can actually hide it and not use it. Okay, the particular Ds are used for spatial requirements. So if you've got a cleat that needs to be in a certain position, or they're used for driving certain things. So for instance, in this cap plate, let's just say we change the section, the cap plate would change. Alright, so now we're going to go down into the base plate. You can see the base plate is named, and inside that we've got the same thing again, a D. The D is the green thing that you see there. Now the base plate will change if I change the section size. They're linked. And then you'll notice that under the same naming convention we've got Ps. Okay, and anything else that's not used, we've got a bit of grout there, that's a D. That's just used for spatial requirements. And then we have fasteners. I'm not going to get into fasteners today. I'm just letting you know that this is the naming convention that we use in the steel detailer. Now, however, you might think that's a really long name. So if we go to plate here, you got PO1, PO2, PO3, PO4, and so forth. Those names are automatically created when you insert plates into a connection, or plates from the library up under the TSD connections. So we got insert plate there. The insert plate would automatically name it in sequence based on what assembly that I'm in. So if I put a plate in under the welded member, it will put PO1 at the end of the welded member name and put it inside this assembly if I was to drop a plate in. However, this isn't about that. This is about just showing you the way that the naming conventions work. Okay, so this is the standard default filing system for TSD. Now, how is this picked up? Quite simply, if we were to right mouse click and open the drawing, you'll notice that this is a template. Okay, there's no bill of materials in the template, and in our drawing sheet we've linked the drawing number to the file name of the particular column that we've got. Okay, you can change this. I'm going to show you that in a sec. This automatically updates because it's linked to the file name of the model that belongs to the drawing. Now also too, you'll notice that we have a mark number on our drawing. It's a mark title that we put in. Now the actual mark title itself is also tied to the file name. We can change that out so that that becomes some other instance, and I'm going to show you that in a second, so that we can pick up a custom property on that item as well. If I go over to, I think it's blocks, I've actually grabbed this mark number here and saved it as a marked note. Okay, you can do that by just right mouse clicking the note and go add to library, and you simply just give it a name. So in this case, let's just go default TSD mark note. Now I'm doing this right now because we may need to come back to it at some stage, and plus I've got it there if I need it. So I'm just clicking that, copying that default TSD note for the file name and putting it in the description, so I've got it. And I've picked the blocks folder for it to go into. So if I hit my tick, it adds it to the blocks folder. There it is there. So I've got two mark notes. I created this mark note before, and I've used a different mark custom property for it. Okay, and I'm just going to show you that in a second. But first, I just wanted to let you know that this is just a template. Okay, now there are two different types of templates. There is a TSD template, which is what you see before you, and that template is in our library. Okay, so when we give you a library and you set up your library, the particular template that you are using is our default template. Okay, now you can change those templates quite simply just by going into the library and changing the templates to suit yourself. Now, to do that with mark numbers, we pretty much have to do that if we don't use the stock standard system. So it means that my marking tags that I've got here on all my plates can point to some other custom property. I'm going to show you that also in a second. So at the moment it's set up for defaults. Okay, now the bill of materials that comes in, I'm going to show you that as well, which sits up in the top right hand corner. The mark numbers in that are also set up to suit the default mark numbering system of file naming. Okay, you can also change those as well to suit yourself. So I'm just letting you know it's completely flexible. All right, so now I'm just going to go through the process and show you how it's all done so that you can see what happens when we lock a member. And then what we'll do is we'll change the actual drawing itself and save it as a template for the project, and change a couple of things so that you can see how we can link to custom properties and pretty much create our own mark numbering system. Okay, now we've had questions in the past about the project number only being 4 digits. Can you use your own? Absolutely. The only place that you can't use your own in is in the modeling environment, because that's a default setup within TSD, and that's how TSD works. But for your drawings, you can create anything you like, and I'm about to show you that. Alright, so let's just close that template and save it. Now also too, with that template for a welded member drawing, we've also got the member section drawing, which is the steel section that forms the major part of the component of the column. And if we open up the drawing associated to that as well, there's no marking or mark numbers or anything associated to this. But the template itself will also need some sort of a change down in the bottom right hand corner, because that's also set up to pick up the default mark name. Now when we do a lock, you'll see the change, and I'll just go through that so you can see what actually happens. Now when we call a member lock process, it's not actually locking the member or locking it in any way, shape or form. It's actually putting together a final stage of the drawings, okay? And the final stage of the drawings, we could have named the name member lock to say final stage drawings or finished drawings or some other name. We thought that locking member was more appropriate, and we've had some discussions about the actual name itself, because it does confuse people, because we're not actually locking the actual member in place, or so it doesn't change or anything like that. It can change. Alright, so I'm just going to run you through the member lock process. I'm just saving this model so that everything is now updated. If we go up into our TSD members, okay, and lock member, we select the main section of the actual column itself, so that it brings it in, and you want to have the member to be locked come up under the member to locked area. Now in here we've actually called captured the connections, so the connections themselves will come in, and this is where we tie the bolts to the connection to the member, so that when you produce your reports, you can select give me the number of bolts per member. Okay, so that helps us out at that end. So I'm just going to select the base plate because I want the bolts to come with the base plate. I don't want the bolts to come with a cat plate, primarily because the beam that will attach to the cat plate will contain the bolts, not the column. So whatever's bolting to that member, that's predominantly where those bolts will be captured. Okay, so I'm not selecting the cat plate in this instance because of that reason. So I'm just going to hit my tick, and now you'll go through a member lock process. So it does a little bit of an audit to make sure everything functions. Now it's hiding all the dummy components with the Ds. It's checking the plates and the sections to see if there are other sections and plates that are the same. It swaps out the plates that are the same and saves them in a folder. It puts in the bill of materials, changes out the drawing template, and it does it for all of them and totals all the plates for you automatically. Pretty powerful function this. So all the plates are counted throughout the project, and you'll also notice that what's actually happened now is that it's locked both, and you'll see that the colors have changed. Okay, now when I go through the process of locking, and you can see what's actually happened, let's go back to this member. Okay, if I open it up, the names have changed of the components. Okay, the section now is a 5000-SER0001. Okay, it means that we can have 9,999 members in a project. That's our limit. If you get 9,999 sections in a project that's gone through a lock, you'll have to start another project. It's just our limit. Now the reason for this is that we've got 12 digits in there maximum. We've actually got 11 in this case, but if we need to grow, we can. It's 9,000. Was it 99,999? Anyway, we can grow if we need to. At the moment, we've just set it up so that that'll take 9,999. Okay. Now you'll also notice that the plates have gone through the same process as well. Okay, so it's renamed the plates, And you'll also notice that through the process the links have remained, so it's done a save as of the component, and what it's done is it's thrown it into a different folder. Okay, so it's created a different folder and it's tallied them up in that folder. If I go over and open up the project and have a look at the filing system that has occurred, I have my area, which is what the project is that I'm logged into at the moment, I've created, and in there I have my members, and there's my file names for the items that have been inserted into the project. If I go back to the 5000 folder, I now have a plates folder, a sections folder, and a vendors folder. Okay, this is where TSD in the lock process does a check to see if there's other members and compares them, totals them, puts them into one folder. Okay, this is what the lock process does. So I go into the plates. I've got all my plates in there with my plates drawings. Okay, so it's simply copied the existing templates and it's put them in here in a final stage. So any of these drawings have got bill of materials on them now, and the quantities have been updated to match. Plates sections, we've only got one section in here that's been locked, and a vendor folder. Now I pretty much went through a D. You saw a D in there before for the letter for D for dummy component, doesn't get used. There's also a V and an M. Okay, an M is the member that we showed you before for the section, and a V is for vendor items. So vendor items, I mean, say for instance, if you were to drop in a vendor supplied item, it could be say for instance your bolts. Could be vendor supplied items rather than using fasteners, a fastener process. You could also drop in, say for instance, handrail components, say for stanchions and returns and things like that. That's where this gets saved. So if you've got a return that's being used somewhere else on a handrail, it will collate them and total them. Okay, so it pulls them out of those sub-assemblies and stores them here. So you end up with all your files linking to one, all your assemblies linking to one part. Okay, so that's what it does. It actually sits them inside those folders. Now, the templates that have been swapped out, which is part of the locking process, comes from the project templates, to which we, when we set up a project, we use particular types of templates. I mean, you can use your own. These templates have actually come from selecting them inside other projects, and they also originally came from so you can get them from other projects if you like, and I've also selected them from the Steel Detailer template location, so that they've automatically come in. Now we've got 4 different types of templates that we use here. Obviously a GA template, a member section template, a welded member template, and a plate template. Okay, and they're all different. So what happens is when you do a lock, it swaps out the library template, drawing template, not the TSD template, the library drawing template, and puts in the project template in the actual drawing itself. So if we right mouse click this and open that up, that template that's here, that's come in, is the template for the project. Okay, that's what's come in. Alright, the bill of materials is a default template that comes from the Steel Detailer, and we can change that as well. So let's just go through the process of making some changes here. So and we'll update a template, and I'll show you how all these items can be modified. Before we do that, what we need to do is we need to set up a custom property inside our weldments, inside our sections, and inside our plates that will allow us to tie our drawing sheet template to the actual model item. In this instance, this is just defaulting in the marked text to pick up the default file name, and the drawing sheet as well has also done the same thing, and the bill of materials has also done the same thing. Okay, what we want to do is we want to make our own, right? So to do that, it's quite simple. So let's go to the column. Okay, so this is the column that we've got open. Now there is a custom property that we want to add to this column so that it will come up over and over again. I could simply just go to the file, click properties, and this is where our custom properties are. Add my new custom property here and give it a new value. And I can do that one by one, and if you go large models, it is painfully slow. Okay, we've got something that's a lot better than just doing this one by one. Okay, now this custom property gets tied into your title block. It also gets tied into your note, and it also gets tied into your mark notes that your little balloons. So what we're going to do is just run you through a process that we've got in TSD that allows us to change those items quite quickly. Okay, so I'm just zooming out here. Now I've just got a little model here. You can imagine on a large model it's got to go through a significant process to create your own mark number systems. However, it can be done. So if we go into the TSD utilities and we go into the modify model custom properties, okay? Now there is a get model custom properties which will allow us to get the custom properties of the model without going into the file process that I just did and click on properties. At a deeper level without opening it. You can update it and change it. Okay. In this instance, since we're going to grab the modify model custom properties, a little dialog box comes up. Okay. So the weldment member that we've got here can simply be the only one that has the mark number added to it, or we can do it both weldment member assembly and members, or we can use members and plates and vendor models, and we can just isolate them out so that we're going to create our own mark numbering systems. Okay, so I'm just going to do the weldment member assembly only at this stage because we can do the others just after, and I'll show you that process. Okay, so let's click on get models. Okay, so what this does is it gets the welded member assemblies from the top level assembly, which is the AA WBS assembly, and it puts it into a list. Now in here you'll see it's getting the values of the items that already have mark in them. Okay, and they're the values there that are defaulted in. What we're going to do is change that. Okay, there is several ways that you can do this. You can come over to the right here and pick file name, okay, or by text, so you can do one by one, or file name, which means it brings in that file name we've got there and puts that inside the mark number, or a modified file name, which means that if I want to string concatenate the information that I've got here, it can do that on a large basis. Say for instance I just wanted the CM001, I can use the modified file name process. Alternatively, there's another quicker way of doing this. Let's just say we've got a really large list. We can export this out into spreadsheet, okay, and I'm just going to put this in here and we can go mark, and I'll label this properly, mark numbers. This will put it into a spreadsheet. Okay, the spreadsheet opens up, so we've got the spreadsheet in front of us, and we can put our own mark numbers in. And the beautiful thing about using Excel is that, say for instance we've got the same item, we can shuffle all these and simply just put in our own marking numbers. Okay, so and then you can grab and drag, and that automatically does all the counting for us. Okay, so in this case I've got columns. I've just used a C and I've created C1, C2. If I wanted to put a massive number in there as an example, so I can do the same thing again. So you can tie your mark number to a particular project. In that case, I've done that. So we just click save on the spreadsheet and close it. Okay, there's a default one underneath. We'll just close that as well and don't save that. Alright, so now we can now import it. So if we click the import button and go back to the mark number system that we just created, and don't worry about this language down here, we just want the Excel file to click, okay, and then click open. It brings in the mark numbers that I've just added. Select all, and then I go update models, and then what that does is that's just added that into the welded member assembly only. Okay, so now we've actually got those items inside them. So if I just close that down, those custom properties have now been added. So if I just go into the second column and open it up and go file properties, I now have a mark in there that's come in. Okay, so you're doing a bulk update of the custom properties, but you're doing it in a simplistic way, quicker than you would normally do it by opening up a file and changing it, opening up a file and changing it. So now I'm just going to go over to the sections and do the same things. So I go back to the modify model custom property. I want to grab the members, okay, and we want to get the models. Okay, now one of these has already been locked, the other one hasn't. So I'm just going to grab those. Now, in theory, the best time for you to do this is when you've locked all your models or you're at the end of your project and you've finalized all your drawings, because it will automatically update once you've set up your templates, and we can swap the templates out as we need be as well. It's best that you do that, because if you go and do it and you create your plate numbers, and you'll find that because there are the same plates in a project, your plate numbers may end up all out of sequence after a lock. So you're better off doing it after a lock. Just you'll see that when you try it. So don't do it. Lock it, then change your plates. It'll be less painful for you to deal with. Okay, so that's just a simple process. Now, in this case, I can do this with sections, okay? I'm not going to swap out the sections, I'm just going to show you how this works as well. So I can actually export out the same thing, and I'm simply just going to copy over the top of the other one. Yes, I'm going to copy over it, replace it, and I can use the same thing in there. I didn't think I copied those numbers, but anyway, I'm just showing you that you can do the same thing here, and you can use whatever mark number. So just part 1 or whichever one you want to use. Code 1, so that it comes up with that name inside it. It depends on what you want to use. You can use product number 1 or something like that, or whatever mark number you use for these items so that your clients get what they're looking for. In this instance, I've tied it to the project as well. Obviously that project number is different to the other one that I did because I didn't copy it. I'm just going to click save, close that one. Now I'm going to import it. So go back to that file and open it. Select all and then update. Okay, so now that's updated the members with the codes that I've just added it in. Okay, now if I click exit, now if I go to a section, say this one here because it's finished, and I open it up, I can go to the properties and you'll notice that that code has come in to match that column number. Alright, now I'll just show you that that other one that allows us to look at the item. So if I select the item first, TSD, get model custom properties. So this is getting the component. You can see the mark numbers come in here. Okay, I can change it here if I need to and update it without opening up the parts, just a little bit quicker. I can also go to the parent assembly and swap over, and that gives me the mark number for the parent, which is the welded member. So there's another little program, a little macro there that we've built into the system to allow us to change custom properties. Alright, so now we've got 2 columns here that have been through the process of updating that mark number. So I'm just going to save that model now. So the next step, alright, now the template that comes with the project, back to the templates again, is set default to pretty much match what we've selected. So we want to change that to suit a different mark numbering system. So if we open up the drawing that's associated to, okay, so this is the template that we've got. What we want to do is we now want to make that so that it actually works and links to the mark number. If you right mouse click on your drawing and click edit sheet format, okay, this takes us in behind the drawing to the sheet format so that we can change it. I'm going to double click on this item. Before I do it, I'm just going to show you what this means in the text window, okay? So you can see that this is linked to a file name. What we want to do is link it to that mark name custom property that we just selected. So if we double click on that, okay, and we go to our custom properties, which is this one here, so over on the left hand side in the note I've got link to custom property. I click that, okay. Now what we want to do is we actually want to link it to the model in the view specified, and if we click mark, it will now link to that mark name and bring in the value for that mark name. Okay, so this is where you can add in your own information, and you can do this anywhere within your drawing sheet with any text. Okay, it links it to the custom property of that item. Now if there's nothing there, you get a blank. So however, you have to come back and then update the custom properties of the item. Okay, so now also too, our default note, unfortunately we haven't got anything built for a macro here, and it is an enhancement request that could possibly occur depending on how you want to attack this. It's a manual process to swap out the note. I've grabbed a note and changed it here before and created it. Now you saw me create the one for this one that's sitting in front of us. If we actually grab that note and drag and drop it on a view, you'll notice that I've already preset this one so that it will automatically pick up the mark number that we created. Now I can simply just right mouse click that and show you what's in it. Okay, so if I grab that and drag it out, you'll see that now it's picked up the mark of the model, okay, and that's where it's all come from. So that's linked to the custom properties of mark. So I created that, saved it as a note, and I've got it in there as a default that I can use just to simply drag and drop. Okay, now that's this particular template and because this is already in our project, it's too late. So we've actually got to go through and change them all manually. However, it's not a big deal. You just open up your assembly drawing and drag and drop that in there to do that. Now, the note itself for all the items that are in here is the same process. Now, if you've created this as a library member, you would do this in the library before you used it. As I said, enhancement requests could potentially allow this to occur. We can manually just go in and change our mark numbering notes. And you'll see that that's exactly the same as the file name that we showed you in the drawing template. Okay, we can actually change that as well so that that note is not picking that up. It's actually grabbing it from somewhere else. Okay, so we can change it. So over here on the left hand side, it's a balloon. We can use the custom properties of that particular item that's in there, and there should be a mark number in there that we've got set up. It doesn't look like it's picked it up. So I've got custom properties. And, oh, we haven't done it with plates. My fault. We've done it with the sections. But remember, we only did the mark number for the section, but you can do it for the plate as well. So in here, there should be marked. There it is. And then that automatically picks up the code. Now, in the bill of materials, this is actually a template. If we want to reuse this template over and over again in our projects because our marking systems are suited to the way we want to function, if you go into the folder for the steel detailer, which is C, the steel detailer, and you go into BOM templates, we've got our BOM templates in here that come into our drawings. Now they're default BOM templates. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to back these up because I'm going to change them, okay? So I'm just going to create a backup folder, and I'm going to copy all my templates and put them in the backup folder because I'm going to save over the top of them. I'm going to make changes. Now, in our bill of materials, the first one is the only one that you can change. The others are set. You cannot change them. Okay. The reasons for this are because TSD uses those to bring information in. However, you can add another column to the end if you want to add another number for some particular reason. Okay. You might want grade of steel or something like that. We generally cover that in a note that we've got here that covers all the grades of steel that we're using, standard, welds and symbols and things like that. And you can add your own weld symbols to the drawing, but we just cover it with notes. It's just a lot easier, and people are familiar with that in Australia. Alright, so now let's just go over. What we want to do is we want to change this mark number over, and you'll see that only the section will change, the plates won't because we haven't updated the plates. So if I right mouse click on that, and then over here on the right hand side I got column property. I can change the custom property to mark, and that brings in the mark number. See how the plates haven't come in? Because I've not added the mark to it, doesn't exist, okay, at this stage. I can simply go back if I want to and do that with the plates. I'm going to do that right now so that you can see, and then we'll come back to that drawing. Let's go back up into the utilities, modify model custom properties, go to the plates, get models, export, get back to the main folder, click on that, save it, yes, yes, and there are my plates. So I'm just going to bring that down, stretch that out, and we might go PL001, okay, just to give it a mark number. Oh, we've got to give it the code, which I didn't copy that anywhere, and I'm just going to drag that down. And you'll see that what it's also done, because these are not locked and these are locked, I'm going to have problems with my naming conventions, right? So simply what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make different numbers here in this case. I'm just going to copy that and paste that because they're going to end up the same anyway, okay, in that order. So I've actually got those numbers from there to there. And when I lock them, what happens is the only ones that will show up in this list are those ones only. You won't see these because they're templates. Okay, so I've just saved that, close it, close the back end one. Now I want to select all. Import, first. Bring in my mark numbers. Now that there's all my mark numbers, select all, update models. So that's just going to go through and update them. So that's all done. Now if I go over to my column and open up my column drawing, all my default mark numbers have come in. So you want to link these guys, as well. And to do that now, because that's linked to a custom property, I can simply just go around and delete the ones that are there and just pick on the plates, okay, and copy and paste that note. And because the note's linked to a custom property, it automatically picks up that mark name. So there's no typing, it automatically comes from the custom property. And I can do that with any object I want. Alright, I'm not going to do all of them, just thought I'd show you that. Now, back over to this bomb. Now, because I've set this bomb up with a different mark numbering system, if I right mouse click that and go Save As, I can go back to the TSD folder, bomb templates, okay, and I've got my weldment bomb template there, okay, and I'm just going to click Save, and I'm going to save over the top of it. Alright. I also need to, because I've now changed my sheet template, if I edit the sheet, go back to the sheet because I changed that, and now that I've created a new sheet template, I can now save that sheet. So save the sheet format, and we go back to the project template location and save over the top of the project template, because now we've changed it. It means that when we do this and we do another lock, it will automatically pick up this sheet template. Okay, so there's that process. So now we save all on that. Now what we want to do is lock this column, okay? Because now that column's been done, we want to lock this column. From this point on, it means that we can now lock any member in our project, and our automatic mark numbering will come into the drawings, apart from the mark note and the balloons, okay? Which has to be done pre using or creating in your projects in your library. You could, however, change your library drawing sheets as well to reflect this process as well, so that no matter what happens when you bring in your drawing sheet, it picks up that mark number as well. Now, I'm not going to go in and change my library because the library I've got here is set up for other reasons using default settings. Okay, so now what we want to do is on this column on the right hand side, we want to lock it. So I'm just going to lock that member, pick the base plate for the bolts, and then lock it. So you'll notice some things happening when it goes through this process, okay? So it's now I'm checking the section, checking the plates, changing the plates out. It compares the plates, it's updating the bill of materials on all the items, and yeah, we get a little bit of a white screen because it's going through some major changes fairly quickly. And then it updates the bill of materials, and you'll notice now, because the bill of materials has been changed, it automatically picks that up. So now if I go over to my second column and open up the drawing, you'll notice now the sheet template has changed to pick up our own mark number system. The BOM has now picked up our own mark number system for our components, and the mark name we didn't change, so you just simply delete that, grab your mark note, drag it onto the drawing view, and now we've got the mark which matches our drawing sheet. Okay, that's how you pretty much go through a process of adding your own marks. Now we can go around and simply select all of our notes, our balloons in one go, like so. Go to our custom properties, make sure that's ticked, click mark, and now they all update. Okay, so you can see there's a fairly quick process of just changing out the actual drawing sheet information. You got to make sure you get all the marks too, by the way, for your drawing. And these are all linked now to your own mark numbering system. So that was fairly quick, changing all the balloons and dropping in the text. Now, as I said, you could, however, make that fully automated, and it could be an enhancement request. But for now, that's pretty much how you would change your mark number system. Alright, now also too, so that you're aware of this, we have an assembly mark in our columns, so that when we create our GAs, that assembly mark comes through into our GAs. So that mark there, we want that to match, and you'll see the assembly doc, okay? See the assembly doc's got 5000 AA. What we want to do is we want to have it so that it picks up this mark number and puts it in there, so that it's identical in the item with the assembly dock or the mark number. Because we've got an automatic GA creation process, we can actually select the mark number instead of the assembly dock and have our mark number come up in our GAs. Okay, this is something that's in progress at the moment, is being beta tested and will be released very shortly. We haven't linked the mark number as such at the moment, but we're working on it. It's actually happening, and I'm just going to show you so that you can see what I mean by creating automatic general arrangements. And in that process, you'll be able to pick up any custom property you like to populate the GA. So I'm just letting you know that we're working on that. Now I'm just going to log into another model just to show you what we're actually working on, and that should be it. This is a stair structure that we've put together from previous demonstrations that we're loading in, and that particular stair structure itself has got what we call blockouts and grids and everything associated to it, and the actual drawing process is part of it. Now you're just seeing something that's fresh and new that we're adding into the product. Now I'm just going to go down into the Steel Detailers folder, go to where we're working, into that folder, go into the AA, make sure there's no general arrangements and remove them. So this is a stair tower that we're working on, and in the stair tower we have our RLs that you can see off to the left hand side. They're automatically linked, so if you change the height they automatically update. We've got grid balloons that we've got into our project that are automated. They are automatically inserted. This is all new to 2014 when it comes out. At the moment we're still beta testing this, so fingers crossed everything works okay. If we go to our TSD drawings, we've got our general arrangements. Now the general arrangement interface is set up like this, so it means that we can create different items, different drawings. I'm just going to close this off and just show you what's happened as far as the configurations go. Now we can create configurations in our project and we can get different floors. So if we double click on a floor, what it does is it does a section cut in our drawing, so that in our model, so that the only thing that's shown is that floor level. So we've taken a section cut on that top floor, you can just see that. If we take a section cut at a lower level, so the bottom level as a config, what it does is it allows us to bring this into our drawing sheet so that that's the only thing that's shown. I mean, obviously you can show the whole thing, but when it comes to doing floors, you want to be able to show your floor in that GA. So we've got that floor, okay, and these are just section cuts through the object based on where our RLs are sitting and where our grid lines are sitting. I'm just going to go back to the default. That brings everything back in again. Now if I go back to the drawings again and open up the general arrangements, we can create a default template that will pick up certain blockouts. Now I'm just going to show you this. We have templates to put one view on a drawing, 3 views, 4 views, 2 horizontal views or 2 vertical views. It depends on what you want on your drawing sheet. You can set that up to do that. We've just got one view, and in this instance I've got on this drawing I want to use that configuration which I just selected there before. Okay, and also underneath that I've got another drawing which is using another floor, so you can actually switch between them. Okay, I can change the view to which I want to look at that particular object or that config and show that. And also too, we have over here on the right hand side our blocks and settings. Okay, so as I said, this is still in development, we're still working on it. We have notation settings, so in here instead of clicking the file name, we'll have a default that sets it up so that we can pick our mark custom property. Same with this particular type for custom properties. Now we have two different types of custom properties. We have a vendor item description custom property, and we also have a mark number custom property. Also too, we want it to bring in our RLs, so we've got RL blocks. This is still being worked on, the RLs. However, our grid lines are working okay. We can also bring in a north symbol, which has to be predefined in the model so that you know which way the north symbol is going to be pointed, and the grid lines and balloons, so we can bring those in as well, and first and second. So there are 2 drawings here that we've got in our template. You can go and add more drawing sheets, and in this instance you could do a section cut through the base, which will allow you to do a holding down bolt plan. So you can do that as well. I've not set that up, but you can. And simply, just by minimizing this, we'll see the process happen. So we click generate. So it opens up a drawing sheet, brings in the associated view, changes it to the configuration view that you saw before, scales it to fit on the drawing sheet, puts in the automatic mark numbers, which will be set up so that your marking system or your mark numbers come into the GA automatically, and it automatically brings in the grid lines and the grid balloons. And we're working on the dimensioning process at the moment. So at the end of the day, you'll end up with a drawing that you just go in and just tidy up a little bit. We're also getting it so that our mark numbers rotate around depending on the orientation. So that was one floor. So now it's going to another configuration and creating another drawing automatically. So it's going down the list. So if I've got a list of drawings that I need to create, it will automatically create them one by one. This will save everyone a lot of time when it comes to GAs. GAs can take an enormous amount of time. We're just getting smarter with our product. So in 2014, this is something that is definitely going to be added. Alright, so there's the two drawings that have been created, and if I go into the drawings and open them up one by one, and you'll notice that with that particular drawing, it's got the grid balloons have all been numbered automatically, and you can position the grid balloons where you want to put them. So we've got our grid balloons, and as I said, we're working on the dimension stage of it, and we've got our mark numbers. Now, however, you can go over your mark numbers and highlight the whole lot, and we're going to position these mark numbers a little bit better as well, and probably even scale them a little differently just to see how they'll fit. So what I've just done then, I've selected the whole lot and I've turned on the leaders so you can see where they belong. So I've got leaders. By default, there's no leaders turned on, and that might be a setting that we put in so that it can automatically do it. So it's picking every object that's in there. Now I can simply, now because I've dropped those in there, and I'll just highlight over the top of them again, change out what's actually in them, right, to match the mark numbers. Now I didn't change, you can see it's come up with both. You can even bring in the custom property for the section size as well. So that's got both in there. I've got the mark number and the beam to which, or the brace in this case, you can see the mark numbers that have come up under mark, and also too at the end of it, if I wanted to, I could put underneath that or at the end, depending on how you want to attack it, in brackets. And this is what we're going to do so that you can do it on main sections. If you actually click on the custom properties again, go to the component, we haven't done a bill of materials so that you can automatically bring in the actual section size. If I run a bill of materials over the top of this right now inside the model, I can bring in the section sizes. I haven't done it in this instance, but you can add it so it becomes part of it, which is a much better system. So you can see that that member there's come up in there. Now I can change that out so that that becomes part of this in there, and that's the actual weldment name in the member. And if I just copy that and paste it, you can see what I mean. So I'm just picking that beam, so it automatically changes to the section, to the weldment member number, mark number. Now these are default filing. You can set it up so that you can use your own mark numbers, as I've shown you previously, using mark. In this case, I've just used a default file name for that object, and in that case I've taken the balloon away, so you can do anything you like as far as setting all that up to suit yourself. Now we're going to be working on this a little bit more to make this so that it's a lot more fluid, a lot more functional for us to utilize. Obviously it does get a little overcrowded, which you can see what's going on in there. Every item that you've got in there is being counted, and you might want to just remove a whole heap of those if you don't want them. What the program does is it picks up whatever's visible. So if there's hand railing that's visible, it'll bring in all the hand railing components. In this instance, you might only just want the members. So we've got to set that up as well. So something to look forward to. We're working on this currently at the moment, and you can see that it'll be a pretty quick process for both of us. For all of our customers. Now, if we also go and have a look at the other drawing view, you'll see that that they change. So this is a section at the floor, so you can see the stairs coming up. And if I open up the other drawing, you can see the stairs are on the other side Okay, so same thing happened there as well. So it's really quick on creating drawings at GA level. All right. So that pretty much concludes the process of making your own GAs work within your system. Um, Pretty much anything's the go as far as our marking systems go, and it's up to you on how you want that system to work. Most of our clients have stuck with the default naming conventions because at the end of the day it's a little bit more work involved in creating a custom one, and then you've got to manage that process as well. The actual drawing documentation still only links to the existing file name and not the mark name. So that's something else that we may be looking at as well, so that when you do create your own mark system, your drawings do come in as well with that. So when we go into the document manager, you can see that our file names represent our default file naming system. So we might be able to set up a setting in there that allows us to do that. Our document management system, if you simply just want to grab a whole heap in one go and go change out your template because you changed your template to suit an automatic mark numbering system, you can simply do that by clicking on that item there after you've updated your project template, sheet template. So you can swap them out in one batch and just go away, have a cup of coffee, come back, and it'll pretty much have it all done for you. So if you've got any questions with regards to having an automatic mark numbering system, please send your question at support@thesteeldetailer.com. If you've got an enhancement request because there's some automated processes that could be occurring in that area there, please by all means just ask. We'll add it in. So I just want to thank you for your time, for being here today, and hopefully you've learnt something that could potentially help you, in your endeavours using TSD. Thank you for your time, and if you've got any questions, send them to support@thesteeldetailer. And if you've just started your day, enjoy your day. And if I don't see you tonight, because we've got another webinar on tonight, which is 8 p.m. Perth time, we'll certainly see you then. If not, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you at next week's webinar.